Imagine sneaking through a dark, creepy tunnel, the air damp and heavy with the scent of earth and ancient stone. Your heart pounds in your chest as you strain your ears for any sound, any hint of movement in the shadows. Suddenly, the ground gives way beneath you, and you're falling, plunging into a pit filled with sharp spikes. This isn't a horror movie. This was the terrifying reality for medieval invaders who dared to breach the walls of a castle. Today, we're diving deep into the hidden world of medieval castles, where secret tunnels and deadly traps were as much a part of the architecture as the towering walls and grand halls. These weren't just buildings, they were fortresses of ingenuity, designed to protect and defend against relentless enemies. So, buckle up as we step into the shadows of history and uncover the secrets that made these castles some of the most brilliant and terrifying creations of their time. Deadly traps, the castle's silent guardians. What's scarier than an army of soldiers? An army of invisible traps, waiting to strike when you least expect it. Medieval castles were like real-life horror games, filled with brutal and clever traps designed to stop invaders in their tracks. Let's dive into these deadly secrets and explore the genius behind their design. Murder holes. Ever heard of a surprise attack from above? Murder holes were the medieval version. A grim reminder that the castle was always watching, always ready. Picture this. You're an invader, charging through the castle gates, thinking you've broken through the defenses. But above you, hidden in the shadows, are murder holes. Suddenly, boiling oil, tar, or even heavy rocks come raining down. It's like the original roof drop prank, but way deadlier. Murder holes were strategically placed in passageways and above gatehouses, allowing defenders to pour boiling liquids or drop heavy objects onto unsuspecting invaders below. The psychological impact was immense. The mere thought of what lurked above was enough to strike fear into the hearts of attackers. One famous example of murder holes in action comes from the siege of Rochester Castle in 1215. King John's forces tried to breach the castle by tunneling under the walls. But the defenders had a surprise waiting for them. They used murder holes to attack the invaders as they tried to break through, pouring boiling liquids and dropping heavy objects onto the unsuspecting soldiers below. The traps were so effective that the siege dragged on for weeks, proving just how powerful these silent guardians could be. The role of secret passages in espionage. Now, let's talk about secret passages, the medieval version of spy tunnels. These weren't just escape routes, they were tools of deception, allowing spies to move undetected through the castle, gathering intelligence and sabotaging enemy plans. Imagine a spy sneaking through a hidden door in the castle wall disguised as a servant. They gather crucial information on the enemy's plans and slip back into the shadows, completely undetected. Secret passages were often narrow, winding tunnels, hidden behind false walls or cleverly concealed doors. They were used for a variety of purposes, from espionage to escape routes for the castle's inhabitants. Some passages even led outside the castle walls, providing a secret entrance or exit for allies. One famous example comes from Warwick Castle in England. During the Wars of the Roses, secret passages allowed spies to move in and out of the castle, gathering critical information that turned the tide of battles. These passages were so well hidden that many of them were only discovered centuries later during renovations. The construction of secret passages was a closely guarded secret, known only to a select few. They were often built during the initial construction of the castle, with false walls and hidden doors designed to blend seamlessly with the surrounding architecture. The discovery of these passages centuries later is a testament to the ingenuity and foresight of medieval architects. The role of fire in castle defense. Now, let's talk about fire, the medieval version of a flamethrower. Imagine scaling a castle wall, your heart pounding with adrenaline, when suddenly, boiling oil is poured onto you and you're set on fire. It's like a BBQ gone wrong, but way more terrifying. Fire wasn't just a weapon, it was a psychological nightmare for invaders. Flames engulfed the walls, turning the castle into a blazing inferno. But fire wasn't just used on the walls. During sieges, defenders would often launch fire arrows or even catapult flaming projectiles into enemy camps. The goal wasn't just to kill, it was to create chaos and panic, disrupting the enemy's plans and forcing them to retreat. One of the most dramatic uses of fire in castle defense comes from the siege of Dover Castle in 1216. The defenders used fire to repel French forces, burning their siege engines and forcing them to retreat. It was a brutal but effective tactic that showcased the sheer ingenuity of medieval warfare. The use of fire in castle defense required careful planning and preparation. Defenders would stockpile flammable materials, such as oil, tar, and pitch, ready to be deployed at a moment's notice. They would also train extensively in the use of fire weapons, honing their skills to maximize their effectiveness in battle. The architecture of defense traps and tunnels were just the beginning. The entire castle, every wall, every window, every tower, was designed to keep invaders out. Think of it as the ultimate fortress, built to outsmart and outlast any enemy. It's like a medieval escape room, but with way higher stakes. Thick walls and narrow windows. Let's start with the walls. Castle walls weren't just thick, they were massive, often several feet wide. Why? To withstand battering rams, catapults, and even earthquakes. But the walls weren't just strong, they were smart. Look at the windows. They're narrow, almost like slits. These weren't just for decoration. Narrow windows made it nearly impossible for enemies to climb inside, while giving defenders the perfect angle to shoot arrows or pour boiling liquids on attackers below. It was a simple but brilliant design. The construction of castle walls was a monumental task, requiring skilled masons and vast amounts of resources. The walls were often built using local materials such as stone or brick, and reinforced with earth and rubble. The thickness of the walls varied depending on the castle's location and purpose, but they were always designed to withstand the most relentless attacks in curtain walls and moats. Now imagine you're an invader approaching a castle. The first thing you'd see is the curtain wall, a massive outer wall surrounding the entire castle. But that's not all. In front of the wall, there's often a moat, a deep, water-filled ditch. Moats weren't just for show, they were a formidable barrier, forcing attackers to cross under a hail of arrows before they could even reach the walls. Curtain walls were often the first line of defense designed to protect the castle from direct attacks. They were built to be tall and imposing, with battlements and arrow slits providing defenders with a clear line of sight. Moats, on the other hand, were designed to be deep and wide, making it difficult for attackers to cross without being detected. Keep design. Finally, let's talk about the heart of the castle, the keep. This was the last line of defense, the safest place in the entire fortress. Keeps were often built on higher ground, giving defenders a clear view of the battlefield. They had limited access points, sometimes just one heavily guarded door. Inside, the keep was stocked with supplies, weapons, and everything needed to survive a long siege. It was the ultimate stronghold designed to protect the castle's most important inhabitants, no matter what. The design of the keep varied depending on the castle's location and purpose, but they were always built to be strong and impenetrable. Some keeps were circular, while others were square or rectangular. The walls were often thicker than those of the curtain wall, providing an extra layer of protection against attacks, the psychology of fear. Did you know castles were designed to intimidate? Imagine standing at the foot of a towering castle, its walls looming over you like a giant monster. Gargoyles stare down with hollow eyes, and the entrance looks like the mouth of a beast. It's like a haunted house, but way scarier. Imposing structures. Let's start with the most obvious tool of intimidation, the sheer size of castles. These structures were massive, often built on hills or cliffs to make them even more imposing. The higher the castle, the more it dominated the landscape. For an invader, just looking up at those towering walls was enough to make them think twice. Why? Because size sends a message. This castle is unbreakable. Turn back now or face the consequences. The psychological impact of a castle's size was immense. The mere sight of a towering fortress was enough to strike fear into the hearts of invaders, making them question their chances of success. It was a powerful deterrent designed to make attackers think twice before launching an assault. Symbolism. But it wasn't just about size. Castles were filled with symbols designed to unsettle and terrify. Take gargoyles, for example. These stone creatures weren't just decorations, they were meant to scare. With their grotesque faces and menacing poses, they seemed to come alive in the flickering light of torches. Then there were the grim carvings and dark, foreboding entrances. Every detail was carefully crafted to create an aura of fear, as if the castle itself was alive and watching. The symbolism of castles extended beyond their physical features. They were often adorned with heraldic symbols, such as coats of arms and banners, which served as a visual representation of the castle's owner and their power. These symbols were designed to intimidate and impress, sending a clear message to anyone who dared to approach. Psychological warfare. And let's not forget the traps and hidden tunnels we've already talked about. These weren't just physical defenses, they were tools of psychological warfare. Imagine being an invader, knowing that every step you take could trigger a deadly trap, or hearing whispers of secret tunnels where defenders could appear out of nowhere. The uncertainty alone was enough to break the morale of even the bravest soldiers. One of the most famous examples of this psychological warfare comes from the legend of Château de Brissac in France. Known as the Giant of the Loire Valley, this castle is said to be haunted by the Green Lady, a ghost who roams its halls. According to the story, she was murdered by her husband in a fit of jealousy, and her restless spirit still lingers. Whether or not the story is true, it added to the castle's fearsome reputation, making invaders think twice before attacking. After all, who would dare to face both the living and the dead? The role of sound in castle defense. Now, let's talk about something you might not expect. Sound. Yes, sound was a powerful weapon in castle defense. Imagine this. You're an invader, sneaking through the dark corridors of a castle at night. Suddenly, you hear the eerie clanging of metal, the distant echo of footsteps, or even the sound of chains rattling. Is it the wind? Or is someone or something coming for you? Castles were designed to amplify sound in specific ways. Narrow hallways and high ceilings created echoes that made it hard to tell where noises were coming from. Defenders would sometimes use sound to their advantage, banging pots and pans or blowing horns to create the illusion of a larger force. One of the most famous examples comes from the Château de Chinon in France. During a siege, defenders used sound to confuse the enemy, making them believe reinforcements were arriving. The invaders, unsure of what was happening, retreated in panic. It was a brilliant use of psychology and acoustics to win a battle without even drawing a sword. Over the past 30 minutes, we've journeyed deep into the heart of medieval castles, uncovering their secrets and unraveling their mysteries. From deadly traps to secret tunnels, these fortresses were masterpieces of defense and ingenuity. If you enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating content. And let me know in the comments, which castle would you like to explore next? Your suggestions might just inspire our next adventure. We explored the hidden world of secret tunnels, lifelines for defenders during sieges. We delved into the deadly traps that turned castles into death traps for invaders. We marveled at the genius of defensive architecture, from thick walls to towering keeps, and finally, we saw how castles weren't just physical fortresses. They were psychological weapons, designed to intimidate and dominate. These castles weren't just buildings, they were fortresses of ingenuity, built to outsmart, outlast, and outfight any enemy. Every stone, every corridor, every trap was a testament to the brilliance of medieval engineering and the determination to survive in a brutal world. They weren't just structures, they were stories, waiting to be told. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the secrets of medieval castles, don't forget to hit the like button, share this video with fellow history lovers, and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating content. Let us know in the comments, which castle would you like to explore next? Is there a legendary fortress or a mysterious ruin you're curious about? Your suggestions might just inspire our next adventure. And speaking of adventures, next time we're stepping onto the battlefield to uncover the mysteries of medieval siege weapons. From trebuchets that could hurl massive stones to battering rams that could break through the strongest gates, we'll explore how these weapons worked and how they changed the course of history. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.